Welcome to day 539 of our Web3 journey. I'm Ed Krasenstein, here with my twin brother Brian. And remember, these videos are being sponsored by DeSoFi, or being sponsored by NFT Tech. They are an investor in DeSoFi. So we got some stuff to talk about today. There's been some drama in the DeSo world. But in the crypto world, it seems like the White House is sort of embracing crypto.
Yeah, I mean, they're embracing it, but they're also trying to put out regulations. The Biden White House just released its first ever framework on what crypto regulations in the United States should look like. And note that these are not regulations. It's just kind of like a memo, a framework memo saying what should be taking place. And it will act as sort of a blueprint for what they do probably heading into the next few years. But the framework outlines the ways in which the financial services industry should evolve to make borderless transactions easier, make them basically, it provides a way on how they should crack down on fraud, especially in the digital asset space. So, I mean, this can include a whole bunch of things like NFTs, obviously cryptocurrencies, tokens, all of that, DeFi, and anything else that's included in that area. But President Biden will evaluate whether to call upon Congress to amend the Bank Secrecy Act and laws against unlicensed money transmitting to apply explicitly to digital asset service providers. And this would actually include digital asset exchanges and NFT platforms, which that's interesting. I think that if they put money transmitting laws into effect for NFT platforms, it's going to be quite a confusing mess. But we'll see what happens. And it doesn't say that Biden is going to do this. It says that the president will evaluate whether to and then call on Congress to amend the Bank Secrecy Act. So the president has to decide to do it. Then Congress has to agree to do it, which is a whole other can of worms. I don't think it's going to be easy to get a cohesive bill by Congress.
Yeah.
So some things you look forward to. Also, the framework points out the potential for significant benefits if the U.S. central bank developed their own digital currency. I found that fascinating because that means that they're basically legitimizing crypto,
Yeah.
but from a government standpoint. And they also said that they want to make stable coins safer. And in order to do this, the administration says the Treasury will work with financial institutions to bolster their capacity to identify and mitigate cyber vulnerabilities by sharing information and promoting a wide range of data sets and analytical tools, as well as team up with other agencies to identify, track, and analyze emerging strategic risk that relate to digital asset markets. So I see this as an overall positive. Of course, in the NFT space, things are a little bit foggy with what will happen, but it's probably several years away. But overall, I think it's showing that they see crypto as a legitimate store of value and a legitimate thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, if you get a US dollar backed crypto, I think that would be huge for the crypto space. Does
Absolutely.
Bitcoin and Ethereum become the gold and the silver where people, they want to have a store of value outside the US government? They can easily transfer US dollar crypto into Bitcoin, into Ethereum, back into US dollar when they want to spend it. Who knows? But I think it has a lot of potential there.
Absolutely. So let's move on to the drama yesterday. And there's a lot to kind of unravel here, a lot to talk about, a
Yeah.
lot to discuss, and we'll give our opinions as well. But I think to start, the DeSo drama yesterday was related to the DeSo core team using SwapIdentity in order to take hold of a username, and that username was DeSo Dollar. And DeSo Dollar is DeSo Dollar itself is going to be a fully backed, fully exchangeable stable coin that enables low fee USD transactions on DeSo. And it's going to be launching within the next few weeks by the DeSo core team. But it turns out that the username was owned by Peter, and I think it's spelled Petrh, and he had owned it for 359 days. DeSo never approached Peter about obtaining this name. They didn't contact him in any way that we're aware of. They just took it via the swap identity function that's built into the blockchain. And they changed Peter's DeSo dollar account username to DeSo dollar with an underscore at the end. Understandably, the community was a bit upset. In some cases, I'd say some people were pretty outraged at everything. And there's a lot of great feedback in the threads that are posted about this, uh, especially from people like Sandy Rose, DJesus, MP3, who actually runs Name Trade, Vampire Campfire, Mark Van Z, Felipe Tahiti, Clout Women Unite, Nathan Wells, Ado, Slava, uh, Leela Thigpen, Alex Roken, Anku, Randier, and many others. And they all bring out really solid points. But after the complaints started piling in, uh, DeSo actually sent Peter $200 in DeSo. But Peter said that he felt that the username was worth more than that, and he said probably $1,000 was fair. So in comes Big Mike R35, who had absolutely nothing to do with any of this. And he sends $800 to make up that difference between 1,000 and 200 that Peter got to Peter because he wanted to make things right. Although, like I said, he has nothing to do with any of this. It's amazing that Big Mike did this. And he put out a video. It was like 5 minutes long. I'm going to play a clip of what he said here.
Communication is starting to get better. The roadmap was great. It was honestly it made me feel proud to be here, and it made me feel like we have a good future here on DeSo. The recent stuff with Peter and Nader and Dylan Lee taking his name, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right. Like, hey, I need this username. Maybe offered him a price. He thought $1,000 was fair. So I paid the difference in that. Because I think there should be an integrity, respect behind everything that's done here. I don't think that we should just be giving things up to the core team just because.
And he put out this video with the expectations of getting nothing in return. He sent this money with the expectations of getting nothing in return. So he deserves a lot of diamonds. So if you're listening, go give him some diamonds. Dylan Jagger Lee heard about this, and he actually reimbursed Big Mike R35 the $800 that he sent. So he isn't out money Big Mike, even though he was willing to be out money. But it's an interesting story. And Ed, you want to explain what happened exactly and how Nader responded?
Yes, I mean, if we got one positive out of this, I think it's that we finally got to get a face reveal from Big Mike R35. And we also find out that he's a Rays fan, right? So anyhow, moving on, we actually did also find out, thanks to MP3, that the same thing happened with PokeDAO, the PokeDAO username. MP3 owned PokeDAO. The name was taken from him. Nader had contacted him after the fact and ended up giving him $1,000 for it. So this isn't the first time it's happened. It's happened in the past. But, I think this is something we need to discuss. And there's decent arguments on both sides. In the end, though, I think the way DeSo went about it was entirely wrong. I think there are mistakes along the way in this process. Nader did make a long post explaining the process that they used to obtain DeSo dollar. He said the foundation has access to 2 unique transaction types. Many of the OGs on DeSo know about these. They're update profile and swap identity. He said these are used, especially in the early days and still now, for different cases. And number one, when somebody loses a seed phrase and they need to, if a huge profile loses a seed phrase and they have all these coin buyers in it, they need to have a way to kind of get that account back, reassign a new seed phrase. So they use it for that. Number two, in order to try and entice high profile people to come over to DeSo. So in some cases, let's say a Lindsay Lohan wants to come over to DeSo, but Lindsay Lohan's already taken by a name squatter. They can use the swap identity to provide this celebrity with a name that she wants. And, there could be arguments, is this right? Is it not? Personally, I think it's right. We'll get into that in a little bit. And number 3, in instances where the foundation needs a name, like DeSo Dollar, and it's held by a squatter who is unresponsive to contact. So these are what he said are the reasons. Number 3, I don't think this case fits into that because number 1, it wasn't held by a squatter. The name was registered. The name was created 359 days ago before DeSo Dollar was even announced. And number 2, they never even tried to contact Peter, who probably would have responded within hours because he's super active on DeSo. Anyhow, these functions, the swap identity and update profile, will be available until we break 100 daily active users consistently for
100,000 daily active users.
What did I say?
You said 100.
Yeah, 100,000 daily active users. And that kind of just came about yesterday, I think. I don't think the community knew about that. I don't know if Core just came up with this idea yesterday in order to kind of like ease our minds or what. But once we hit 100,000 daily active users, these will no longer be used. So I want to talk a little bit about our experience with domaining. So Brian and I, for years, I guess for the last 15 years or so, we have been buying, selling, investing in domain names. We have been domain name squatters in the past, meaning we've purchased domain names. So basically what we do is we read the news a lot, especially in the tech industry. And when we see a new project coming out, a new company, we buy domain names. And sometimes they're company names, sometimes they are project names, like Apple releases a new iPhone or a new product, we try and buy a domain name related to it. And sometimes we buy typos. So, Coke.com, maybe we'll get Coke with 2 E's at the end, figuring somebody's going to press E twice, send traffic there, and we own the domain name. You have ads on the site, you make money that way. So we have done that in the past. We haven't really done that recently. But the way the domain industry works, a lot of people do this. But there are instances where there's kind of like this set of rules where domainers kind of follow. If it's a personal company product name and a company comes to us or a person comes to us and says, you own this domain name, you're squatting on it, we'd like it back. We give it back to them. We don't argue. We don't try and sell it to them.
And usually that would mean that there's a trademark, which means that they could actually sue you and win it back. Plus they could seek damages. So you usually want to stay away from trademark names or people's names that could try and sue you, because obviously they do have a right to their own name in most cases. Or if they have a company, they have a right to that name as well.
Yeah, exactly. And if they can prove that you have, I guess you could say malicious intent and that you're squatting, you're buying it because you're trying to profit off of their name, then they can come after you for it. So in those instances, we always give them, we don't even argue. We just say, okay, here it is. Let me know where you transfer it. But there are other instances where we own a domain name, like let's say book.com. We don't own book.com, but let's say we own book.com or just ay.com. That's the domain name we own. If somebody came to us and said, oh, I want that domain name, well, we say, okay, well, this is a generic term. Or maybe let's say we own Coke.com before Coke actually became a company. And that obviously isn't possible because Coke's been around long before the internet. But let's say it's a company like that. We own Coke.com. Then Coke comes along, creates a company, and they're like, we want this domain name. You have our company name. We'll say, well, we own this company name before you created the company. So no, that's our domain name. If you want it, you can buy it from us for $300,000. And if they say, nope, we're not going to pay that, we want it anyway. We'll say, too bad, it's our domain name. And legally, we have the right to that. So in those instances, Coke will just have to find another domain name, or they would have to offer us enough money that we would be willing to sell. Maybe they could buy Coke.net. So anyhow, I think this is similar to how DeSo is going to work. Ultimately, you probably need a similar system on DeSo, although decentralization might make things a little different, so I don't know. In an instance like this where the username DeSo Dollar was created before the news broke, so Peter owned the domain name or owned the username before DeSo created DeSo Dollar. In this case, I think the way DeSo went about it was wrong. I think it should be entirely 100% up to Peter to decide if he wants to sell and what he wants for it. If he wants $1 million, I think DeSo either gives him $1 million for it, or they come up with a different name that could work.
Yeah. Let me just cut in a little bit here, because like the way domain names work. So if you have a problem, say somebody owns a domain that you think you have a trademark to, or you think they're squatting on that really belongs to you. There's ICANN, and ICANN is the International Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. And it's basically a nonprofit that basically handles the domain registration of every domain. But you can file a WIPO case. It's WIPO. It's basically a case you file with ICANN, which I just spoke about, and you pay. I think it's like $2,700. So you're not given these huge legal fees, and they actually determine if the domain should be shifted over to your ownership based on whether it's trademark or if there's other issues involved.
Yeah, so I think maybe we should have some kind of independent board, maybe voted on by DeSo community members, maybe even through a DAO, that decides on these things. Like, is it a trademark? Was it registered before or after the company was created? Should we do a swap identity on it? I think that would be something that would be helpful, and I think the community would embrace something like that, because there are people who are going to come along and like take celebrity usernames. And I know they say once we hit 100,000 daily active users, we will no longer give celebrity names back to the celebrity. I think they should. I think if you own a celebrity name, no matter when it is, I think that celebrity has the right to own that name. If it's a company, I think they have a right to own that company name. I think that's how it should be handled. Even though we're on decentralized social media, I still think there should be some sort of board set up to do that, no matter how many daily active users we have. Without a doubt, I think DeSo handled this wrong. And I honestly think Natter realizes he handled this wrong. He said he said that they take names if the squatter is unresponsive, and Peter was not unresponsive. At least he wasn't given the opportunity to be unresponsive. He was active. This shouldn't have happened. No exceptions, in my opinion. Natter did bring up the point what if the person wants $1 million? I still think we should have this set of rules. If the name was registered prior to the company being formed or the product being created, then I think too bad. You just tough luck, find a new name. I also think another idea is DeSo should okay, so you have the @ username. I also think you should have a name on your profile, like Twitter. We could
Like
be
a display name.
What, Brian?
Like a display name.
Yeah, so like we could be at Krasenstein, but we also say Ed and Brian Krasenstein. Now, if we were fake and we weren't really Krasenstein, the real Krasenstein could come along and register the real Krasenstein, like Donald Trump has the real Donald Trump, and name it Ed and Brian Krasenstein still. So I think that would be something, and then get that name verified, whether it's through DeSo or through associations. I think that would help with some of these issues. Ultimately, I think squatting on a company or personal names should be overturnable regardless of how many daily active users. And ultimately, I think DeSo should have reserved DeSo dollar before Peter did, or come up with a different name, or use a different name for it. It doesn't have to be.
It's the free market. So basically, what if Peter said, "Hey, no, I want $1 million for this"? Obviously, it's not worth $1 million to DeSo. DeSo could call it DeSo USD or something. That's probably a bad name, but
DeSo dollars. Why not just use DeSo dollars? Add an S to the end. The username is probably available. I haven't checked, but maybe it's not anymore.
There'd be some confusion, I think. But what I'm saying is that it's probably not worth $1 million to DeSo to buy it, and then Peter would probably say, "Okay, I'll take $1,200 because maybe that's worth it." So you'll come to a point where there's an equilibrium between what the seller is willing to sell. Peter really, if he's not making money with the domain name, then he's obviously going to take less than $1 million
with a username.
It'll be like a winning the lottery.
Yeah, with the username, not the domain name. But so all in all, I think this is it. Just drama. You're gonna have drama. I do think it should have been handled differently. I think everybody's going to get over this. I think we need a better solution. I think like some kind of board, some set of rules. I don't know if I like the 100,000 daily active user thing. I think some of this stuff should be reserved. The ability to do swap identity should be accessible for eternity. But I think there needs rules and there needs to be an independent board to do it. So anyhow, Big Mike R, 35, and Peter, they both deserve a lot of credit in this. If you have diamonds to give them some diamonds as a, thank you, as a thanks for being cooperative, thanks for helping out. Also, Peters, it's Petrh. His founder reward's just 12.34%. Not investment advice, but maybe you want to help out that way. And also, if you go to DeSo $, which is the original DeSo account, Peter actually minted DeSo NFTs starting 359 days ago. So check those out. Maybe buy some of those if you're interested. I'm not saying they're going to be worth anything, but what I am saying is it helps Peter out, and it's kind of like a thank you.
Yeah, I think in the end, I think we learned a lot here. I think Natter learned a lot. I give Natter credit for responding promptly to this and explaining it from how he saw it. We might not agree totally with how he handled it, but at least he was upfront and explained it and admitted his mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. So moving on, in other news, Natter posted a screenshot of daily active users this morning, and it shows that we've been trending upward. Not by much, but we have been trending upward. And today, or I guess it was yesterday, it seems like we have had quite a big spike. I don't know what's attributed to it. Could it be just an increase in bots? Maybe. Could it be more users getting active, excited about what's coming next week and the weeks ahead? Perhaps.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens over the next, I guess, 2 or 3 weeks. And it's good to see the daily actives going up. Hopefully they're not bots.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah. So also William Laurent, he let us know today that he is actually going to be on a YouTube show tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern time. It's called Six Figures Trading Crypto. And he will be on there. He's going to be talking a lot about the Celsius situation. He's going to be talking about some feedback, what he's doing with fast blocks, the market, general crypto, blockchain stuff. So definitely check it out. There's going to be a link in this video on YouTube as well as above this video on DeSo.
Yeah, love what William's doing. And Itzadedia made a proposal on DeSo yesterday, and he says that we need some sort of mechanism for content deletion from servers. The idea is that you allow users and node operators to permanently delete media from the servers. So by media, I don't mean like text on the blockchain. I mean like videos, photos that are being hosted in a more centralized manner. He said, quote, "Let's say I run my own node and some people post illegal stuff. What can I do other than blacklisting the user? The worst part is the post will still be accessible somehow." He also said the solution is simple. Post extra data can store node operator public key, and the node operator can request the DeSo backend with JWT to remove that stuff permanently. It will be an optional thing. Some node operators may or may not do it. So I think this is an interesting idea because there might be videos, there might be copyrighted content, there might be stuff that needs to be removed. And I think there needs to be a better way of doing it. I think it needs to be a more elaborate system. And I think it's something that Core probably has to work on. Maybe some sort of DAO can be combined into it where the DAO has more control over it. I don't know, but it's definitely an interesting idea to think about.
Yeah, and I think the more options you get as a node operator, the better. In the future, there's obviously going to be legal issues where people want stuff removed from your node, or people want stuff removed from any of the nodes. And having tools to do that, I think, are important. I know people are like, oh, censorship and all that, but just because there's censorship doesn't mean that it's centralized censorship. And I think that's what people are afraid of.
Exactly. And DeSocial World celebrates 26 weeks of post to earn, thanks to Seals, who has sponsored their post to earn competition each week. They have funded it with $1,084 over this period. In this 26-week period, DeSo has moved post to earn from a quantity-based to a quality-based system. They replaced manual payments with auto payments, and they've awarded over 50 amazing DeSo creators. And exciting news is post to earn DAO is coming soon. Ada's done a terrific job with this, Brian.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the DAO because I think that can be powerful. Maybe it can boost the earnings of the post to earn program. And I hope we see post to earn come to other nodes as well, because I think competition among nodes are going to benefit the end user in the long run.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah, so let's head on to the top bidders for NFTs over the last 24 hours, according to NFTZ. These people bid on the most NFTs on the DeSo blockchain. Spunk Art was first, followed by Eat Green Apples, Randier, Meta Philosopher, Pro Crusties, Rhinelf, Krasenstein, which is us because we bid on a few NFTs. That's 70s Robot, Shady Acres, and La Big Mac.
I just want to say those bids were on Peter's DeSo dollar NFTs.
Yep.
So it's not like I'm pumping them. Like I know I talked about them earlier in the show. It's not like I'm pumping them to increase the value of my NFTs. just to let you know, everybody go out bid me on them if you'd like.
Yeah, so also let's move on to the top diamond creators of the last 24 hours. These people received the most diamonds or tips on their DeSo post or comments, and they are as follows. And thanks to Alton Base for this list. Big Mike R35 deserves them for sure. Spunk Art, MP3, Michelle Lord, Sean Slater, Clay Oglesby, Dylan Jagger Lee, Krasenstein Us, Big Clout Sprain, and Natter.
Yeah, so get Peter up in that list too. He needs to be up there. So today's events, and it was Bit Clout Sprain. I think you said Big Clout Sprain.
Bit Clout Sprain.
So today's events, thanks once again to Miss Katie Ann for providing us with the list. At 4 p.m. Eastern Time is Investor Office Hours AMA on Entra with Ben Ursing. Ben Ursing's an awesome guy, super smart, super informative VC who has a vast amount of knowledge about the investing space. Definitely worth your time to check out this Investing Office Hours on Entra at 4 p.m. today. 5 p.m. Eastern Time today is co-working with One Delinsky on Vibe Hut. Vibe Hut's amazing. And then at 5 p.m. Eastern Time is Creator Coins with Ben Ursings on Vibe Hut. So Ben Ursings is making his rounds today. 4 o'clock he's on Entra. 5 o'clock he's on Vibe Hut. Definitely try and at least catch one of those events with Ben. And at 9 p.m. Eastern Time is New Users Welcome and Walkthrough for Entra with Sean Tron. So great events taking place today. A little bit of drama. Great news great stuff happening in the weeks ahead. So everybody have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.